Check out this fancy animation on Casper Store. It's a small and slick count that just looks satisfying. Today, I'm going to show you how to add this to your store in a matter of minutes. I mean, you could probably copy and paste this code in less than 60 seconds. I've been building Shopify features like this for years and charging a lot of money to do it, but you get this for free. And if you're interested in learning how this code works, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I built it too. Plus, I've included a bunch of customizable settings so you can tweak it just how you like. Casper is a huge brand with a lot of design and social media awards, so if something is on their site, it's probably not a bad idea to use it. The code that we'll use is CSS, HTML, Liquid with our section schema for all those customizations that I know you like. The code is available in the GitHub link below. You can copy and paste it into a new section file and you're good to go. But if you want to learn about it, stay tuned. Let's get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get my local environment running. So I will start my local server. And if you're not using the Shopify CLI, no worries at all. Just come into your admin, create a duplicate theme, and then just come in here and click edit code, and you'll have the exact same thing. Okay, so now that I have this running, I'm going to open up my preview here. I'm going to open up my admin editor as well. Excellent. So we have our theme editor here, and we also have our theme preview. So everything looks good. We should be able to come into our code and be able to make some changes. So the first thing I will do is come into this sections directory, and I'll create a new file. I'm going to call this one count animation.liquid. And the first thing I'm going to do is just add some sample HTML. And then I will add my schema down here. And the reason I'm going to add a schema first is because I can't add this in the theme editor until it does have a schema. So all I have to do for that is give it a name. And then right below, I'm going to say presets. And this is the part that actually gets it to show up in the theme editor. So I can give it a name here, count animation. And now if I save this, I should be able to come back here, go to add section, search for count animation. Excellent sample. I can see our code right there. So I'm going to move it. So it's going to be right below this banner image. And so right here is where all of our code is going to live. And I'm happy with that. So I will save for the time being. Also refresh here. We have the basic schema in place, so we added it to our theme. Now we can get back to actually editing the code and making this look cool. So what I will do is come into the HTML, and I'll do the HTML first, and I'll add our styles last. So for our styles, what I can do is I can come in here, and I'm going to create this section right here. I'm going to give it a class of stats section. And then I'm going to have some nested elements here. So I'll have a div with a class of container. And then in this stats grid, I'm going to have a couple duplicate elements here. Now, if you're wondering what's going on here, I'm using this image tag, and I know I'm going to add an image picker in my schema settings later, so I'm just referencing that now. It's going to be the name image and then dash whichever image it's for. So I'm going to have 3 in this section. So I'm going to basically duplicate this stats item a couple times, but first I need to add some text as well. Okay, so I finished the first stat item. I'm going to definitely make some changes here. I'm just hard coding most of these values in. So what I'm going to do first is, I guess I'll just save this, make sure we don't have any errors. And yeah, okay, so it looks terrible, but we see our stuff here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add these settings here so that I can reference them correctly. So all I have to do is come in here, add settings, and then we can add those here. So first I'll start with this image. Now the other settings I'm going to add here are going to be for this number and for this number and then for this text as well. Now, if you're wondering what these numbers are for, I don't blame you. It's a little confusing. So you can see we're going to have this image here, which is actually going to just be our icon. And then we have the H3 with like that bolder number that's going to actually do the animation. And then we have this P text, like smaller text below that. So the reason that we have these different attributes here is that we're going to use JavaScript to make this animation happen. And we need to know 2 things. We need to know what the actual final number is going to be, because you can see we're starting from 0, right? So it's going to be from 0 to whatever that number is. So this data value is going to be the final number that it counts up to. And then this delay is something I added as well, so that you can time up how fast you want it to count to that number, because you may have like 200,000 on this side, but you may only have 5 on this side, and you don't want those to count at the same time, because the 200,000 is going to take forever to count to, and the count to 5 is going to be so fast you won't even notice it, right? So I want to make sure that these are customizable. So the first thing I will do is I will come in here and make a section setting for this. Okay, so this looks good so far. We have these numbers being picked from the theme editor, and now we just need to replace this text as well. Okay, perfect. So now save this and come back to our code here. I can save this. It's going to still look terrible. If I come back and refresh here, I should be able to now click into this count animation, and I can, in fact, see some options here. So what I'm going to do is, let's just play with this. So actually, we won't be able to tell here, but at least sample text, we can test this is working. Okay, perfect. And then I can come in, and I'm going to pick an icon. So I will pick this one. Okay, so we have our icon. The number, remember it's starting at 0. We don't have any JavaScript, so like these numbers aren't going to do anything yet, but at least they should be being saved. And I can actually double check. I'll change this from to 201 and 101. Now if I save here, I can come back, I can refresh, and I should be able to inspect this element, and I should see our data that we want. Cool, so I can see data value 201 and data delay 101. So we know it is being set correctly. So now we can continue, and I'm going to duplicate this a couple times, and then I'm going to show you how I got these icons too, because that might be helpful. So all I have to do is come back to this stat item, and I just need to duplicate that 3 times, but then I'm going to come in and I'm going to change these settings for the appropriate image. So setting, this is going to be image 1 anymore. This is going to be image 2. And same with this, image 3, and then I need to come down here and duplicate these as well. If I save that, I should be able to come back, and if I refresh, I can see it's still broken, doesn't look good, but I do have this rendering out 3 times, so everything looks good so far. Now there might be 1 or 2 more settings that I want to add here. And the first is going to be the ability to control the size of our images, just because like icons can be various sizes and stuff. So I want to give a little bit of availability to move a slider so you can easily change the size. So I will come here and I will do a type range setting. Excellent. So all I'm going to have to do is actually add this to the styles so that we can make sure that, you know, it is being applied. And then I'm also going to add a few more customizations. The first for the background color of the section, because right now it's, you know, we don't have any styles, but it's going to be white because we haven't defined anything. So I'm going to come in here and give the option to change that. So I'll do type of color. And I actually have a background color in mind, so I'm going to paste this in. Cool, and then I'm going to do almost the same thing, but it's going to be for the font color. So that's for the background. This is going to be for the font. Cool, and then I think I'm just going to add one more, and this is going to be kind of similar actually to this. So I'm going to copy and paste this, but it's going to be for the text size. It's like the heading size instead of the font, or instead of the icon. And I should probably do one for the numbers and then also for the subtext below. Now, because this is not going to be in pixels, I have it in rem units. I'm going to change this, so it's going to be quite different. I'm going to have it set default. For the number size, I'm going to set it to 2.8. And then I'm going to have the max be, let's say 5, and the step is going to be 0.2. And then I'm going to copy this because I'm going to do almost the same thing. So that's for the number, and then this one is going to be for the text itself. Okay, cool. So everything looks good. We're not really applying any of these other than, the stuff we're displaying. So if I come back, still going to look like garbage. And if I come back here, I should see a lot more options. So let's take a look at the settings. Okay, cool. So we have image 1, image, number, speed, subtext, and then we have the same for all 3 of these. So let me show you where I'm getting these icons. I think that they work really well. I was looking for somewhere with fast, free icons to use, so I found this SVG repo, and it's really quite something. So I just searched for a few different icons, and then you can click on whichever one you'd like to use. And then I just clicked edit, and then you can change this. I moved it down to the very smallest size. You can also change the color here to be whatever you would like. And then, because you're probably going to want it to match your text. And then all you have to do is click export and download this, and you can add it to via your theme editor very easily. So I would highly recommend using the service if you need somewhere for these simple icons. I think they work pretty well. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to add those now. Okay, cool. So we have our icons here. Now I think it's time for a good reveal where we paste in the styles so we can make this start looking a lot better. So I'll come up here to the top of my file, and then I'm going to paste this in, and you'll see we have a closing and an opening style tag. So I will walk through real quickly some of what's going on here. We have this stats section, which is the entire section that we're applying these to, just setting a font. We're also, you'll see we're setting that background color, that setting that we chose, or that we added, so we can choose the background color. We have the container, we have some grid, CSS grid set up here. You'll see we also have this width setting that we enabled that slider to be able to change the size of our icon, which I think is very nice. Same thing for our font size here, and then same thing for our text as well. So all those customizable settings are being applied in this style tag right here. You'll see that we have our animation for stuff to show up looking nice. And if we save this, I'm hopeful that our site will now look pretty good. So if I come back here, amazing. Okay, so you can see that the styles are applied. We have this nice background color. We have the color set for all of this. Sample text, we should add maybe some nicer text, but you'll also see these are just stuck at 0. They're not doing anything. And the reason for that is because we have not added our JavaScript yet. So why don't we add that next? I will come back to my code, and right below this closing section tag, I'm going to put in a style tag so we can add our JavaScript here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and then just talk about it because it's a bit of code I don't want to type out. And I did style tag here. I'm sorry, I meant script tag, so we can have our JavaScript run here. And then I'm going to paste this in. All right, and then we can take a look at what's going on here. So we have this event listener. I like to do this on Shopify themes because I want to make sure that my scripts are not running and trying to grab elements in the document before it's actually loaded. So this just ensures that our whole page is loaded. Next, we're going to grab all of the count up elements. Now, what are those? They are the elements that we're going to animate, and you'll see I added this class of count up to all 3. So this is just so we can make sure that we are grabbing those. And then what we're going to do is going to use something called the intersection observer. I'm not going to go into it too much in depth, but really what this does is this is what enables us to control when this animation starts. So the way I have set this up is that it will start animating as soon as those elements come into view. So basically you could have them at the lower part of the page, and they're not going to actually start animating until you scroll and they become in the view of the browser, which I think is pretty cool. So after that, we call this function. We also use that delay that we set up, and we basically call this interval function to do the update and increment the number for us. So if I save this, hopefully we can come back and you can see that it has begun and it is doing this animation that we wanted. So I'm going to take just a moment here, clean up this text and this number so that it looks a little more realistic, I guess. I'm going to come back to the theme editor, and I'm going to, let's say I'll do 400. I will make the speed, let's call it maybe a little faster. I'll do like 40 millisecond delay. My text is going to say happy sleepers and counting. And then I will do the same for these. Okay, so this looks pretty okay, but there's one thing I wanted to add here. I don't want this to say 4. It should say 4 out of 5. So to do that, I am going to add some custom code here. All I have to do is come up to the one you'd like to change, and you'll see here where the 0 is. Remember, that's going to change. So after the span, I can just go like this and do this. And then when I save it, it should say 4 out of 5. Awesome. And we see this going at our custom rate. Everything's looking good. I tested out in the theme editor and I can tell that these settings are updating. I've already defaulted the font and color to what I want, the image size, the icon to be what I want. So everything's looking pretty good. If I come back, I just want to check one more thing. I just want to make sure that this looks good in mobile. Cool, and it does, in fact, it does what I want. It converts it down into a column container. So this is exactly what I was hoping for. I hope this has been helpful and you've enjoyed building this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate all the feedback I get from you guys. Hope this is kind of the design that you are looking for. Please let me know if you have any ideas in the future, and I will see you next time.